Alright guys, what I have for you today is another PS4. This is a white one. So the problem with this is the HDMI port. So we will have a look at that. You can see it's missing those two left pins. So we'll first of all, what we'll do is we'll power this console up. So first, it's been opened before. So what I usually do is I like to see if the console is actually working before I progress any further. So the model number of this console reads CUH-1102a. So we will apply some power and plug in our HDMI just for confirmation, and let's see what sort of results we get. So what I need to see is if this the blue light here turns on and then goes to white light. So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for the console to actually boot up and run properly. So that's what I'm going to do now. So let's plug all of this in. Let's turn the power on. Okay, so let's power this on and let's wait. So what I want to see is this pulsing blue light turn to white light. So that will confirm to me this console is actually working, because once in the past I've had people send me consoles. They said, look, it's just the HDMI port that we need done, and we've done the HDMI port, but the console doesn't boot up past this blue light. So now we have a procedure where we have to follow, that we test the console before we move any further. So we will just wait for this to go to the white light, so we can see that it has gone to the white light. So that tells me that this console is in operating mode. So we will power this down now, disassemble it, and we'll get you back onto focus, and then we'll go from there. But I want to show you how to disassemble this console, because there are tutorials on YouTube that you can watch and follow and go from there. So what I'll do is I'll disassemble all of this, and then we'll show you how to do the HDMI port. Okay, there we are. So we got the board out of the PS4. I've cleaned off the thermal paste that's on there, because I need to redo that as it was dry. So we have a look at the HDMI port, and we notice that all of these pins on this side here are pushed back. So I'll show you the process that I do to do all of the HDMI ports that I do for PS4s. I try and push these back in. First of all, come in with a bit of flux. So I just apply flux onto these ports here, or these pins, area on the HDMI that I can get access to. And then what I do is I come in with my soldering iron. Get you guys a better zoom. Okay. And I just like to go over them with a bit of solder, so just so it can flow a little bit better than what the factory one has. So all I do is apply and just redo the pads. It's just so when I use the heat gun to take this off, it's a lot easier. So I do that. Okay, and then I flip them over, and let's find where the port is. It's right here. And same thing, so I apply a bit of flux. Where's the port? Oh, here. Okay, so we just apply a bit of flux. Oops. Yeah, and then I just apply a bit of new solder to the points where the HDMI gets mounted to the board. So I just hold it over the pins and just apply it, just move it back and forth, just so you can see it going molten. Yeah, and then the other one as well. Okay, so got you positioned, and what I do is I just work this back and forth on the points where it's mounted to the board. Just take your time, don't rush, let this solder turn silver, shiny silver, and then you'll see the port just try and move by itself. So just take your time. You can already see this one here on this side is starting to move. Okay, let me just give it a slight nudge. Okay, so while you're doing this, do not move the board at all, because part of this section does become hot. So don't move anything, just in case one of the components or any of the components do become dislodged, and then you're going to have trouble trying to put everything back together, which is a bit of a headache. So if you're working on this, make sure the board is mounted still, and you are working with a lot of patience, and you're working with the board, not against it, and not trying to apply too much pressure to it. So I'll just wait for this to go through. Okay, so it's still it's hard doing this with the camera. Okay, I'll just reposition you. Hold on. Okay, I've just got you in a better angle now. So it's because I'm not over the port directly. As the camera was in the way, so just take your time, work this back and forth. Waiting for the port to turn shiny, and it will work its way through the board. There you go. So that's the port there. It's out. You can see that. Nice and easy. It's out. So don't, at this stage, do not move the board at all. Leave it as is. Just turn my machine off. And just let it rest for a couple of seconds. And while I do that, I'll go and find my new port. I tend to use two ports, so I have this one here, which is the silver one, which works with the slims as well, and then I have this golden one, which if the customers want to pay a little bit extra, they can have this one, but for this one we'll go with this silver port here. We'll take one out. There you are. Okay, so that should be good enough now, so let's flip this over. Oops. And let's have a look at our joint. Where are we? Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I have to tin the leads. Okay, so what I mean by that is I apply a bit of flux to all of these points, and I grab my soldering iron again, apply a bit of solder to this, and I just go over these pads like so. Yeah, Cool, nice and shiny. Let's do that bit more. Okay, nice. Alright, so now before I move any more forward, I will try and line this up. So with this port here, the problem is that the pins don't really line up 100%. So what I do is I grab this and I look at which way does it need to go. So it needs to go this way. Alright, so let's grab a little needle nose pliers and just bend these tips slightly. The new ones that I've ordered do come perfectly aligned, but I don't know why this set here, the supplier has sent me these ones here, but he said that, look, since we've sent you not accurate ones, we'll go ahead and send you some proper ones. Alright, so we'll put the board aside. Now what I do is I grab my jig. This is available from JCar. So let's get that out of the way. And so that's the old one, don't need that. This one here. Okay, so I just place that into the jig, like so. Just make sure it holds it sturdy. Yeah. And I apply a bit of flux to this, and I have to tin this. So again, flux is very important when you're doing this. And I grab my soldering iron again, bit of flux onto that, solder onto that, and then just go back and forth like so. Yeah. Just take your time while doing this. Okay, just one more time. Okay, so I come in with my heat gun again. So what I'm going to do is I will suck out all of the solder that are in these gaps here, simply because I don't like what the factory uses. So I like to reapply my new solder to these ports, simply because that way I know that I've done it properly and I know that the solder is going to last. So I just heat it up like that, get my solder sucker and just suck it all up. And same thing applies to this end here. Now again, if you're working on this like so, please do not shake the board at any time. Do that. So if you shake the board, you might dislodge any of those components and then you have more trouble. So that's one thing that we don't want. So this is how we do this one. We just heat it there. Boom. Done. So let's put this away. This off. Nice and clean. That way it gives me a bit of security that, yep, okay, cool. So these ports are nice and clean. And then I apply solder paste into these gaps. Bring my new port and drop that in there. You can do this with the existing solder that's on there, but I tend to just do it this way just because of security purposes, and it just gives me a bit of peace of mind, you could say, that yep, okay, it's done properly. So now what I do is grab my soldering iron again, and just so I can hold this into its place, I just apply a little bit of solder to this junction here, just so it holds it, and then I flip the board over and I do these joints here, and just pull that up nicely, just so I know that nice. Yep, nice. And now let's flip this over. Obviously I'm going to clean that later on, and we can see how the pins are all lined up. Yep. And now what I do is I come in with my soldering iron. Okay, I wonder if I can do it like that. And I just apply flux onto those ports, pins. And I just go over the pins just like that. Again, take your time, do not rush. And then I go over them again. Remember, they would tend prior to putting the port in. And that's it. You are. And then I just check with my my knife here, my little craft knife. It's got a bit of solder on it, so let me just clean that out. Yep. So I just come in with this and I look for any movement, just gentle pressure. So you see that one is not done properly. Okay, so we can come through with that. All of these ones are great. Perfect. So it's just the middle one there. Just grab my soldering iron again and just ever so slightly just press down on it. Okay, and then we check again. Yep, great, perfect. So those are all soldered in nice and neatly. I'll grab my acetone and my brush again. So I tend to use acetone quite a bit when I'm doing this sort of work. I just like it how it cleans up really nicely. Nice, that's good. Then we'll flip it over. Give this section a nice clean. So we'll get rid of all of this thick stuff. Okay, then we come in again with this. Nice and clean. Okay, so I've got our console partially assembled, so just this cover to go back on. Now we've applied power HDMI to the monitor. Let's touch the power button and let's see what sort of results do we get. So there's the blue light. We have a look at the monitor. There we go. So it has the PlayStation logo, so we'll wait for it to boot up because it's still on the blue light. Okay, so there you go. So it's booted back up. Now it's asking for us update, which we will do later. So we'll assemble this back on, and that's guaranteed that it's working. We will assemble this console, put our warranty sticker on, get it back to the customer, and that's it. So that's how you do an HDMI port on a PS4 on a 1102a console. Hopefully this video has helped somebody out there, and thank you for watching.